I'm Wesley Hunt.
I'm Wrendon Hunt.
And you're in the hunt.
Welcome. First thing I'd like to do is I'd like to welcome our first guest. Ever since he retired from coaching University of North Carolina basketball, he apparently has spent some time in the weight room and has been getting a substantial amount of sun. I'd like to welcome Roy Williams, former coach to the University of North Carolina Tar Heels, and national champion.
I just really wanted to give a shout out to the GOAT this morning. I was thinking about Michael Jordan. He was my favorite basketball player of all time. So today I decided to do a little jaywalking, and put on a Carolina blue blazer. And this is the thanks I get for that, I see.
That's good. Looks great, Roy.
So I'm going to be. So this show, I'm going to be Roy.
You're not Roy. So what we're going to talk about today is trust. So many things in our society are predicated on the levels in which we trust people. Mm-hmm. We're seeing a lot in COVID right now, the levels to which we trust or don't trust the CDC, the levels to which we trust or don't trust an administration. Mm-hmm. And
actually two administrations.
Yeah. I think it's extremely important that we have these conversations out and in the open. And I've had a number of conversations the past couple of weeks with friends talking a little bit about perspectives, their perspectives. And I would say continue reaching out to me. It's been awesome to hear other people's perspective, their feedback. People that are watching on every platform and listening on every platform really appreciate the feedback that you're giving. And it's helping me grow as a person. So I really appreciate that.
Same. And stay in the hunt. Someday I want a commercial that says that. Instead of stay thirsty, my friends, it's just us.
Stay in the hunt. Stay in the hunt. So this is a very interesting time that we're in right now on the COVID front, because yesterday, the day before, as the time that we're filming this, the CDC has now come up with guidelines saying that if people have been vaccinated, they no longer need to wear a mask.
But hold on. But just about 3 weeks ago, it was if you were vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask outside. So now 3 weeks later, if you've been vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. So
it's really difficult.
Changed?
It's really difficult to gain trust.
Yeah.
If you lack consistency. And with the CDC saying this, and speaking of the idea of consistency and how we approach culture as a whole, this next week in America is going to be extremely interesting. Because
more interesting than what we've seen in the last year.
Interesting in the British way.
Yeah.
Okay. This is about to get really, really interesting. And the reason it's going to get interesting is because we are living in a society where food chains, restaurants, stores, they've been telling us for months that we need to have masks on because the CDC says it and it's keeping people safe. Mm-hmm. The consistent argument now is, okay, if you're vaccinated, why would I have to wear a mask indoors now?
Okay.
Now, this gets really interesting because we've hyper-politicized this issue.
Yes.
Mask means liberal, Democrat, whatever you want to say.
No mask means
Republican, conservative, I don't believe science. We've over-politicized something that was a layup in our culture.
Yeah.
It's a global pandemic. People are getting sick. we've now made it so politicized that the idea of either wearing a mask or not wearing a mask
politically generated.
is 100% virtue signaling.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example of seeing this in my own life. I went to the Astros game last night. Last Saturday, I went to the Astros game. We won.
I know. I just wanted to hear you.
Great,
I just wanted to hear you say it.
It's great. It's great. It's victorious.
Were there trash cans? You heard any trash cans?
No, I didn't hear any trash cans. I was behind home.
It doesn't matter if you heard trash cans.
Yeah, guess what? Trash cans say world champions, right?
Right.
If you're going to have a trash can, make sure you write world champion on it. How about that?
Do you like apples? How you like them apples?
How you like them apples? I went to, and I'll even actually caveat part of this. Because I work in a global firm and we have offices that are in India, I'm seeing what people are dealing with right now. And so I want to caveat everything I say with the fact that I feel extremely fortunate to be in America. I feel extremely fortunate to be in Texas where I can go to a baseball game because I fully recognize that everywhere in the world is not like that. Mm-hmm. So I want to start by saying that everywhere in this country
is not like that. Yeah, everywhere in the country
is not like that. Yeah. So I want to start by saying that. A couple of weeks ago, with a buddy of mine, he and his wife, he's from Milwaukee, and every time the Bucks come in and play the Rockets, he goes to that one game a year. So he and his wife went with me and my wife, or me and my wife went with he and his wife to this game at the Toyota Center. So you have two sporting events in the same city. Houston Astros event, Houston Texans event, or I'm sorry, Houston Rockets event. I go to the Astros event, and you get in, you wear your mask to get in, and after that, I took my mask off. The reason I took my mask off is because I had read the Wall Street Journal that morning, and it said that the CDC says that I don't have to wear my mask.
Yes.
Right? Or that it's not. If somebody had asked me in the stadium, hey, man, put your mask on, I would have said, yes, sir, and I would have put my mask on.
3 bags full.
I would have. Absolutely. I'm not that person, right? So I'm looking around. There are some people who choose to keep their mask on.
Which is fine.
Great. If you feel comfortable, if you feel more comfortable keeping your mask on, awesome.
That's fine.
Everybody is not vaccinated, so I would make the assumption that some people that have their mask on are people that are not vaccinated. Great. If that's what you want to do, you choose to not get that, you want to be out, and you're great. That's your decision. However, we're talking about trust and truth and facts. If that's the decision that we're making on one end at the Astros game, how is it that I'm at the Rockets game? The Astros game, there's 20,000 people. Mm-hmm. I'm at the Rockets game, and it feels like there's 20 people. Mm-hmm. Okay? There is nobody in my section. Like literally, like there are.
This is crazy.
This is lunacy. Don't know
this is absolute lunacy.
I don't know if I could throw a shot put and hit somebody around me.
Because I'm so much stronger than you.
I could throw a shot put like a baseball.
I could throw a shot put over them there mountains.
Uncle Rico. So I'm looking around, and so there's nobody close to me. To get in the stadium for the Astros game, you come in, you have your mask on, and once again, you're in the stadium. For the Rockets game, take your temperature. Make you fill out a 5-minute online survey about where you've been and what you've done.
It's so ridiculous.
And then they let you in, okay?
And you've been vaccinated.
And I've been vaccinated.
Now imagine me, Wrendon. I've had it, recovered for it, and I've been vaccinated.
Yes.
My head explodes.
Yes. Then I get into the stadium, and if you are not actively drinking a drink.
This is so ridiculous.
Or eating food actively. And let's even talk about even more broadly the options there. If you're at Toyota Center watching a Rockets game, you get chicken fingers, fries, popcorn, or a hot dog. Those are your options.
Halas.
All that other stuff.
That is it.
The Tillman Fertitta like specials, all that stuff is shut down. Okay? So then you get in there, and if you're not actively eating, there is an individual who is walking up and down the aisles who's looking at you pointing and doing the one finger point, mask up.
This is ridiculous. Okay, so that's a good start because you opened it up by talking about how this is politically driven and politically motivated, and the NBA is probably considered to be the wokest or the most probably liberal of all of the leagues, right? Would you agree with that? Yeah, the NBA and the NFL is not that far, but I would say the least liberal is hockey.
Yeah.
And then baseball, although I think they've kind of ventured into that realm, they are still kind of America's pastime, baseball, the least liberal of the sporting, of the sports leagues here in the U.S. So you talk about consistency and you talk about leadership. What's the difference between going to the Toyota Center or going to an Astros game? And don't tell me because the Astros game is open and it has a roof. Don't give me that.
This is when the roof was on.
Don't give me that. Don't give me that. So my issue is this, and that's that's a prime example of us playing political football and not even talking about science with this whole thing.
Yes.
We are literally talking about the differences is this. One league is more liberal than the other league.
And what are you going to tell all these people or small business owners whose businesses have gone in the crapper and they can't make money for their families? So now that what are you going to tell all these people now? Hey, we can open up. Well, not really. Like this, the underlying agenda in this is nauseating to me. And then
it's not about getting better. It's not about getting back. It's not about healing. It is about government control and how far they can reach to get us to do what they want to do before we push back and say no.
This is all an issue of control because you have the same city,
Wrendon,
comparable professional sports in a stadium, and once again, it's trust. We should be working off the same facts. Like, it's not like in the Toyota Center, there's all of a sudden going to be a higher propensity of you getting something because it's the Toyota Center and the Toyota Center gremlins are running around.
Wrendon. If the stadium starts with a T, COVID attacks it more. It's more dangerous.
Oh, by the way,
COVID could read.
UFC is in the Toyota Center on Saturday.
Well, we'll see what that.
Very curious to see how that
looks like.
I don't think you're going to see a lot of masks.
We'll see what that looks like. Something tells me. And then also something tells me if somebody's not wearing a mask, there'll be a lot of cauliflower ear in there.
And I don't mess with people with cauliflower ear.
That's our general rule of life, by the way. The Hunt boys' rule of thumb is if somebody has cauliflower ear, you leave them alone. There's no point in picking a fight with them.
Doesn't matter what they weigh.
Doesn't matter what
their body type is. If I see an individual with cauliflower ear and they would like to argue with me, you win, man.
You win every time. Yeah. So there's gonna be a lot of that in the Toyota Center. And I'm not telling a guy who cauliflower.
Hey man, could you put your mask on?
No, I'm not doing.
You do whatever you want, bro. I'll distance myself. You do whatever you need to do. You do whatever's good for you, man. You do whatever's good for you. But that's where this whole idea of trust comes. And I've talked about this before, even from the CDC standpoint. On a certain level, you have that trust when you feel that there's not an agenda behind these things, when you feel that there's a level of consistency that's being put out. That's how we deliver trust. Now, I'm not saying personally that I don't believe what the CDC is saying, because at this point, if you are the scientist, and this is what's bothersome for me about what you see more on the left, it's this whole idea that, well, if you're the scientist, just trust the science. Well, now the science is telling us that we don't have to do this, so why are we digging in our heels to keep our culture where it is? I just don't understand. And I'm sure I'll have a number of conversations in the coming weeks that will help me understand. Then there's the other side of this that gets interesting too. There's the trust that the people who do not have masks on are people who have indeed been vaccinated.
And then let's talk about that too for a second, okay? Have you been vaccinated?
Yes.
Ask me if I've been vaccinated.
Have you been vaccinated?
Yes. Now, let's say I haven't been asked. Let's say I've not been vaccinated. Ask me again.
Have you been vaccinated?
Yes.
Ooh.
How do you know?
Well, I will tell you something that I think is extremely interesting. This is logic. This is consistency. This is trust. One way that I would know whether or not you've been vaccinated is if I asked you to pull out your vaccine card.
Can we ask people to do that, Wrendon?
Right? No. And bear with me for a moment. One way I would know if you were vaccinated.
Oh, you have your card on you.
Is if you had a vaccine card, okay?
Uh-huh.
So the same people.
I knew you were a liberal.
Who.
Pull out your vaccine card. I'm just kidding. I have mine in my truck.
So the same people who are uncomfortable with asking for proof or identification that you've been vaccinated
yeah
are the same people who think it is largely inappropriate to ask somebody for identification when they go and vote in an election.
Oh, wow. That's a good point.
Where is the consistency on
Zero
this?
Consistency. That's a good point.
If we need proof, if we need data, fine. I'm all in. Let me know. If we don't need proof, if we don't need data, and that's the culture, we are going to live in a culture that's that much rooted in trust, okay, that's another scenario. But can we at least be a little consistent on this?
Yeah. And then the other thing is government overreach, and we're talking about HIPAA violations and HIPAA laws as well, though, Wrendon. Like, actually, it's nobody's business if I've gotten vaccinated or not.
No, it's not.
That's actually my own personal decision that I can make with my own life that I've chosen to do. And if I chose to do it, I also have the right to say yes or no if I did or didn't. It's actually my own medical decision to make, and I don't owe you an explanation for that. That's what our laws also protect for us to be able to do. Now, I would like to think and trust in the responsibility of somebody that if you do ask them if they've been vaccinated or not, they'll say yay or nay. I would also like to think that if you haven't been vaccinated, for the most part, everybody won't do that. But holistically, if the rule is if you have not been vaccinated, well then, wear a mask. Yeah. That's great too. And Wrendon, if you don't wear a mask, okay, because you know what? I've been vaccinated.
Yeah.
Or if you're still fearful of that, you can wear a mask.
Yeah. Well, there's a piece
or if you're still so uncomfortable and you think that COVID is still that threatening and lethal to you, then stay home.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have to go out.
And Wesley, this is a community by community situation. In the military parlance, this is MET-TC dependent.
Yeah. MET-TC.
Right? This is community by community, because I'm not going to feel the same way about that if I'm in a community where the vaccination rates are 20% by 70%. It's a different story.
Here's what I'll tell you here in Houston, because I don't live far from NRG Stadium. Vaccinations are so readily available, and most of us, actually over 50%, 65 to 70% of us have actually gotten the first shot of adults, which is fascinating because now
I'm surprised it's not greater than that at this point.
That's pretty high.
Yeah.
But that's pretty high, especially compared to other vaccinations like flu shots and whatnot. That's actually pretty high. So you have to think about now, if you go to NRG Stadium, Wrendon, you can go get a vaccine for free. No wait. There's no line.
No line, no wait.
No line, no line, no wait. If you want it, you got it. Go get it. There are also a lot of people that I respect, that I understand, that are concerned about getting the vaccine anyway for their own personal reasons. And I understand that as an adult.
Yes.
A good buddy of mine just told me, I don't want to get this, Wesley. You know why? I know I've been exposed to it. It's called my immune system. I trust my immune system. He has the right to do that, actually.
Wesley, and we talked a lot about this in a previous podcast. I was skittish about getting the vaccine.
Yes.
I've openly said that. And when people are uncomfortable with potentially putting something in their body and they've assessed their risk factors, then that's a choice that they have to make.
Yeah.
I have absolutely no problem with it. We're getting in dangerous territory as a culture because, and I fell victim to this. It's the cultural pressure of getting it. I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, if I'm trying to get on an airplane in a month, are we going to get to a point where people are literally saying, hey, if you don't have the vaccine, you can't fly.
Get on an airplane. Yeah.
Or you can't, and it's this whole idea of I am an honest enough person, and you know this about me. If I didn't get the vaccine and I had read the CDC guidance, I would have been very different at the Astros game. I probably would have kept my mask on. That's just me. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean that everybody interacts that way. And that's over this whole guise of how do we trust people within our culture? Because if we live in a culture that has no trust, mm-hmm. we've got serious problems. Mm-hmm. And this fracturing in our country is eliminating trust. Like, basically 50% of people do not trust 50% of people.
Yes.
That's crazy.
It's been that way for a while, though. That's why this political pendulum shifts back and forth. The issue now,
I don't think it has been this pronounced.
Here's what I'm saying. The difference now is this. It's my opinion that, and it's even been my experience of running for office for the past 2 years, is that it's not that I'm a Republican. It's that if I'm a Republican, I'm a bad person.
It's that you're a smelly Republican.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a dirty, nasty Republican. That's the difference. See, 20 years ago, oh, you're just a Republican and we don't agree ideologically. That's fine. Or we disagree on the way we view the world. Oh, okay. Now it's, he's a Republican.
And that's exactly what I'm saying.
Turn your nose up.
That's why it's worse now.
But I will say that it's still 50-50, though.
Yeah.
Right? It's 50-50. It's still half and half for the people that think that we should govern this way juxtaposed to us governing another way.
It's 50-50, but it's added, not insidious.
Exactly.
And that's what I'm saying. That's the difference.
Exactly.
Is that wasn't a huge deal then. And you had a number of people where it's like, hey, maybe it's the blue dog Democrat. It's the Reagan Democrat.
Yeah.
There's been a number of lexicons that we use for people that are in the middle in some way or another from a political perspective. And now we've gotten to the point where it's as if that doesn't even exist.
But so you're talking about trust and you're talking about truth. And I think part of the reasons that we get here actually is partly the fault of our leaders and our past leaders.
Absolutely.
So just this past week, Michelle Obama had an interview with Gail. And she says,
so you know Gail now.
She says something.
Gail,
she says
Gail. He had an interview with Gail.
I tried to say that with level of distinction to give myself more credibility, but if it didn't work, it didn't work. That's fine. As mom and dad would say, y'all ain't shot marbles together. Like what is?
I haven't shot marbles with anybody.
I've never shot
like ever. You could literally use that for 300 million people in the United States. Yeah, We've never shot marbles together, indeed.
But she's made a comment, and it really just rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah.
And they were talking about talking about the topic of race in America.
Sure.
And Michelle Obama, we were talking about the former first lady. Her husband was the leader of the free world for 8 years.
Yeah.
8 years. First black president, first black first lady. They are special.
Yeah.
They are different.
Yeah.
They've always been different. And they aren't special and different because they're black. They're special and different because they're special and different.
Yeah. Level of intellect,
yes.
presentation,
education, everything across the board.
Absolutely.
So they get in a conversation, and Michelle Obama starts talking about how now that her girls are driving, she is fearful of them getting in vehicles because of if somebody sees the back of their heads and they don't know who they are, she's fearful of them getting in vehicles and driving. She's fearful that her kids might get profiled. And Gail goes, or when they're out walking the dog. And I'm thinking to myself,
or are they gonna sniper the secret security agent?
Brendan, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And it's Michelle Obama trying to relate to people and make people think that she's like them. But she's not. No. And we know better, and that's a lie. You will have a security detail following you and your family for the rest of your lives.
And if you feel concerned, you can up that security detail. Us regular folk can't do that.
Wrendon, they live in Martha's Vineyard in a $10 million house. That's not regular. You're not normal people. Your children will forever be treated differently. They went to Sidwell Friends in D.C. for college. One goes to Harvard, one goes to Michigan. What are you actually saying here?
Yeah.
But when you start perpetuating those kinds of flat out lies, to be honest with you, because maybe she might, I don't want to say she's lying, because I think maybe there might be a world where she actually believes that.
She's pandering.
She's pandering.
Yeah.
And that's dangerous when it comes from leaders.
Yes.
Because your kids, you don't have to worry about your children, okay? Yeah. You really don't.
Yeah. And let me give the caveat for a lot of this, and I feel this way. when I was a White House fellow, I had the pleasure of getting to sit down with a small group with Michelle Obama, and I have a tremendous level of respect for her level of presentation, her level of intelligence, a tremendous level of respect for her. And I truly believe that, especially inconsistent with the level of respect I have for her, I think this is completely irresponsible.
Yeah.
You are stoking fires, and you're doing it in a way where it's not even truthful in terms of the life that you're living and what you've been able to create for your kids. So you're basically trying to connect with people by saying, hey, I can connect with you because I'm dealing with the same issues that you're dealing with. And quite frankly, you're not.
You're not.
Right?
And it's okay.
And that's not only is it okay, you've earned the right not to put up with the normal the normal issues. You've earned it. Like, all you had to do was be the first black first lady in this country and support a man to become president of the United States twice. And oh, by the way, you're a Harvard Law School graduate too.
Yes.
And you're highly intelligent and did so much to get him to that place. So you're not with the rest of us, but you're not with the rest of us because you've done some pretty remarkable things in your life. So you're acting like we're living in a country that even her at the zenith of the tip top, just because she's black, has to worry about the safety of her kids and has to worry about their literal physical safety.
Wrendon.
When in reality, that's a whole bunch of malarkey.
That's crap.
Because-
Malarkey. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Uncle Joe.
That's a whole bunch of malarkey, Roy. And I'll tell you why that's a whole bunch of malarkey. Because any white person in not America, the universe,
the world, right?
who's not named Elon Musk, would trade their personal security situation with the Obamas.
For that. Don't get me started. And Ren, I also want to say, I feel like they could have a bigger role and a bigger responsibility to start to bridge this gap if they told the truth. Barack Obama beat a war hero.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, first, he beat today probably one of the most powerful Democrat duos we've seen in history ever. And the Clintons.
Not probably. Who's more powerful?
Yes. Okay.
A Secretary of State and a president.
And a president. And a first lady. Family. And a senator in the same family. And a governor in the same family, okay? So he beats them, and they're white.
Like a drum.
Really, they're white. Okay? He beat it like a... And they're white, by the way, okay? Then goes on to beat John McCain, a former Naval Academy graduate, Vietnam POW. Then you beat him, and by the way,
who stayed in Vietnam rather than going home to safety.
Okay, so you beat him. Okay. Then 4 years later, you beat Mitt Romney. So you people, by the way, this only happens when a lot of white people vote for you, and a lot of white people support you and your agenda.
That's the way the numbers work in this country.
That this is called math.
You don't win with just a 14% black vote.
No, that's impossible. Yeah. Okay, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can't. See, you can't do it.
Yeah.
It's absolutely impossible to win with just the black vote, which means that you had a substantial number of other races voting for you as well.
Who believed in you.
Yeah.
And so they voted you over the white woman and the two white men.
And you're really concerned.
And we have no progress in this country.
Talk about progress.
This is Jim Crow. We have no progress in this country.
We're to Sasha and Malia right now. You want to know what their biggest problem is going to be when they have their kids? Man, a good old pair these days are really hard to find. Like, seriously? That Tiffany's rattle, they don't make them anymore? Oh my gosh. Like... If you're really complaining and making these arguments when you made this much progress and like...
Here's what's different about people like us. You can say that, and I don't say that to put them down. I'm like, good on them.
Good on them.
You made it.
It's called capitalism,
That's
Wrendon.
great.
It's called America.
Hey.
I don't want to put a cap on your success.
Touchdown.
I don't want to put a cap on how... But when you score a touchdown, don't sit there and complain to me about, I can't... This touchdown's only 6 points.
Wesley, remember
you scored a touchdown.
One of my favorite things that I've ever heard. I used to love, and we both love Deion Sanders. I think he is one of the most remarkable athletes in the history of sports.
I still love Deion.
I love prime time. Yeah. Okay, and there were two things that he said.
You can't stop What do you say? You can't stop.
Oh, I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
You're getting there. Okay.
I'm getting there.
Okay. I'm not gonna mess it up. Go ahead.
After he got hurt. After he got hurt and he was nursing, I think it was a hamstring injury, and he was in a press conference. They asked, "Hey, Deion, when are you gonna come back?" He said, "You can't rush wine, and you certainly can't rush prime." Incredible. And then the second
can't rush wine.
The second thing that he said,
and you certainly
can't rush prime.
Can't rush prime.
The second thing that he said that I thought was just incredible, people were giving him a hard time for dancing in the end zone, showboating,
I love this.
Bravado. People were giving him a hard time for that. And he said, and I'll paraphrase this, he said, if you don't want me to dance in your end zone, don't let me get there.
That's whoa.
We're professional athletes, guys.
Yes.
We're professional athletes.
If you don't be dancing in the end
You
zone,
don't be dancing in the end zone.
Don't let me get the end zone.
Hey, tackle me, man.
Yeah, it's up to you.
Put some more work in the offseason.
That's up to you.
And it's even, you see it in baseball now, these young guys with the bravado, the bat flips and all this stuff.
If you don't want
to
bat
tell you
flipping,
what, I love that stuff. I like it all. Like, and people are like, because really what it comes.
Speaking of bat flips, remember Joey Bats?
Yes.
Joey Bats' flip from Toronto. It's the greatest bat flip I've ever seen in my
It's
entire
incredible.
life.
I'm still waiting for the bat to come down.
As a side note, go ahead, continue.
I'm still waiting for the bat to come down. But and the irony of it is, because I was asked this question the other day, if how do you feel about your kids watching that? Would you want your kids to throw bats and blah 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 blah? And I'm like, if my kids are so influenced by what they're watching, and they're more influenced by the influence that I have on them in their houses, in our house, and they do that, then that's a knock on me as a parent.
Oh my gosh,
that's personal responsibility.
Are you talking about personal responsibility again?
Yeah.
Oh, so you're not talking about blaming other people for your children's behavior?
No. Well, he watched that, so he flips a bat now.
So that's it. So
he watched
that's
that.
it. Oh,
and
okay.
And here's the thing. Like, look. I mean, these are behaviors that we're emulating. Look, my 4-year-old isn't going up to the mound with Lil Wayne and 15 chains on his neck either, right?
But I got a feeling Right Tuve, by the way.
Right Tuve, one of these days.
His name was Right, but he goes by Right Tuve.
He's right, and he's left-handed. It's just the irony of life.
Yeah,
the irony
of that. Yeah.
But it's this whole idea of, yes, there is a line between confidence and cocky. Absolutely, there is a line there. But at the same time, too, it's fine I don't have a problem with the way that other people who are victorious choose to celebrate their victories.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I might not ever drive a Lamborghini Diablo, but if somebody makes that kind of cash and that's what they want to buy and that's how they want to show.
Did you say Diablo?
Diablo.
Dude, how dated Wrendon? We're way past
Countach, I'm sorry.
Whoa,
all white.
Whoa,
two of them.
Whoa.
We're way beyond Diablo. Motion video. I'm going back to when I actually cared about cars. Whatever. One of them cars,
Diablo,
right?
We're going back to the 90s.
Yeah, that's when I actually cared about it, right? But it's kind of if somebody chooses to do that with what they get, great, awesome, cool. Yeah. Like I'm happy for you. I'm happy that makes you happy. But once again, don't drive around in a Lamborghini Diablo. Yeah, I said it. Don't drive around in that and have a quarter tank of gas in the new E-Class. Yeah. Like, I don't want to hear you talking about...
That's a Big Timers reference.
Yeah, it's a Big Timers reference.
That's a Big Timers reference.
I don't want to hear about you talking about gas prices, man.
Gator boots.
With a pimped out Gucci suit. Yeah, I don't want to see somebody riding around that and then all of a sudden talk about gas prices, man.
Yeah, don't do that.
Like, look, and once again, it's kind of one of these pieces. I don't mind seeing that at all. Like, people can celebrate the way that they want to celebrate. Cool, like it's good.
I like celebrating people's successes.
But own who you are. And once again, from Obama's perspective, they are some of the most successful people in the history of the world.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. They've made it.
Yeah.
But do not sit here with Oprah and Gayle, and by the way, that triumvirate, and try to tell me that y'all are regular people.
Yeah.
Because you're not.
Yeah.
And by the way, own that. And then I would argue this: how do you educate people to get to your level of success?
Yes. There's a responsibility there.
How do you do that? But by telling them that your children that are followed by the Secret Service for the rest of their lives everywhere they go, that you're concerned about their safety, is malarkey.
Yeah.
That is flat out, that's categorically false. And what happens is this black people in general, or people in general, will buy that.
And the irresponsible part of it, Wesley, is even the former president, the Obamas, see this from a race perspective in our country. It must be much worse than I ever imagined it to be.
Yes.
That is irresponsible.
Oh, wow.
That is irresponsible.
Wow.
Because do we have issues? Yes, we have issues.
But don't
when
tell me.
When you are the most successful black people
Ever.
in the history of this
Ever.
country,
Ever.
and you're saying, yeah, you know what? It's really bad out there. It's bad out there for me too.
That's not true.
And it's like, what?
That's not true. That's categorically false.
Yeah. And
they
honestly,
should be called out for it.
And it's disrespectful to people who are dealing with
that fear,
the true struggles and the true fear.
That fear. And by the way, I'm also going to say this too, Wrendon. Like, I don't think they shouldn't be concerned about the safety of their children. I don't care how you feel about them politically. 8 years in the presidency is hard.
Yes, it is.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Democrat, Republican, I don't care. 8 years of that, 4 years of that.
And
you
thank
know
you,
what?
and thank those who are willing to do it.
Thank the few people who have gotten to do that. It's tough. You've earned it.
Yeah.
This is America. I thought this was America, people. The difference between us, people like
can't
us,
even cough these days now without people looking at you funny.
Yeah,
huh?
man. You got vaccinated?
Yeah.
You got vaccinated?
Yeah, I was speaking at an Astros game.
You got the Moderna? You got the Moderna or the Pfizer?
I got the Pfizer.
Okay.
See,
okay.
I'm sorry, the Pfizer. I finally got to use my tagline the other day, by the way. Growing up, because my name is spelled Wrendon. Sometimes people try to pronounce the W, so they'll say, oh, like Wrendon. And my tagline used to always be, no, Wrendon would be wrong.
That's great.
So
I've actually never heard you say that.
You never heard me say that?
No,
that's my little tagline.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
But at the Astros game yesterday, it was so funny. I had to swallow a cough on an elevator. It was miserable, man. Because I'm like,
man.
Because you cough these days, man. People look at you funny now.
Dude,
man.
let it go, man. Just cough. You've been coughing for 38 years.
Yeah.
You know, like this is at some point in time we have got to look at this and take control over the situation, and that is if you've been vaccinated, which now the majority of adults in the United States have been. We are seeing the death rate and the death toll dip dramatically over the course of the past month. When you look at states like Florida, that, by the way, never shut down. And don't give me this again. They're outside. They're on the coast. Stop it. So it's California.
Yeah.
Okay. Like,
touche.
It's I don't want to hear that. It's all about who is actually following the science. What leadership is going to have to take some risk here to balance our health with our cratering economy, because you can't have one without the other, right? There's actually symbiotic.
Love and marriage.
Yes.
Go together like a horse and carriage.
Yes. and those leaders that choose to actually do that the most effective way are going to be the ones that I hope we elect for the future. Yeah. But where we are right now, after a year of this experiment and seeing what we have now seen, let's move on.
Well, and that goes back to the idea of trust, of us getting to a point in our broader society where we can put trust in leaders, right?
Yeah.
Good point. Just more broadly.
Good point.
Just so that we can have that true feeling that somebody who is in leadership has my best interests at heart. And the issue that I have, and I mean, I've said this a lot with these ad hominem attacks, are we put people in a situation where we just dehumanize them.
Yeah.
And the moment that we can dehumanize people, we can treat them whatever way we want because we're not attached to them. One of my favorite quotes is, it's hard to hate somebody from up front. Mm-hmm. Right? When you're close to somebody, it's hard. How many people do you hear, man, if he told me this, I would tell him, man, if he did that to me, man, say that to my face. How many times do we hear that? Mm-hmm. When people won't do or say anything? Mm-hmm. And so what level of trust can we get to the point of in our culture and in our leaders where we can say, hey, just because somebody has an R or a D by their name, it doesn't mean that they're not a really good person who's trying to do what's right and trying to do what's right by our country and by our citizens and by our people. Mm-hmm. This is the piece, we talk about this oftentimes. This is why veterans in politics is so great to me. It's such a great concept because it's the idea that regardless of what this person believes, they were willing to give their life for this country. So there's a minimum level of trust that you have in this person that they're actually trying to look out for the greater good of society. Now, do they have to agree with everything I say and do? No, they don't have to agree with everything. But there's this minimum level of trust that we have that they're trying to make things better.
So I was at Columbus, Ohio on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And by the way, Columbus is shocking, the stark difference.
You didn't say IO, by the way. Come on, man.
I'm
a Michigan fan.
I've always been a Michigan fan.
So
I'm not entertaining this.
Yeah.
So, go blue. So the thing is I got off the plane in Houston. I got on the plane in Houston, got to Ohio, and it is a ghost town.
Yeah.
And we're in Houston too. It's relatively opened up, and it's not that big of a deal here. And I'm like, is the air in Columbus like different than the air? And like, what's happened here?
Got them Buckeyes in there.
It's completely shut down still. And I mean, it's really sad. It's just sad to see that.
Well, because you're looking at it from the perspective of economic interaction.
Oh my God.
And not only is it sad,
public safety, by the way, isn't lost on me.
Yeah.
It's not lost on me. It's paramount to me.
There is a balance there.
But there's a balance.
Nobody wants to say that.
But there's a balance here.
There's a balance there.
And so, but I was there because I was very fortunate to be selected to shoot a special. It's called Modern Warriors. It'll be on with Pete Hegseth. It'll be on the 30th of this month if you want to tune into it. It'll be on Fox News and also be streaming live on Fox Nation.
Text me and remind me the time.
Okay, I'm sure I will.
I'll be watching.
I'm sure I will.
I bet you look great in it too.
I hope so.
That North Carolina. I
will next time.
Yeah, that North Carolina blue on.
I'm gonna have it on next time.
Yeah. You dressed like Roy Williams or Denzel.
Yeah, this is Denzel. You know what I'm saying? More swole.
Yeah, a little more swole.
A little more swole.
Jim a little bit.
It's called Modern Warriors. It's on every year and kind of in remembrance of Veterans Day or Memorial Day, and so we actually shot this thing on the rooftop at the Veterans Museum in Columbus. And by the way, it is absolutely wonderful. It's absolutely fantastic. If you ever get a chance to go, it's absolutely beautiful. But basically, we're on set. Pete Hegseth is also a veteran, and 4 other veterans. Okay, we're post 9/11 veterans around Afghanistan and Iraq around the same time, overlapped in certain places. 1 Navy SEAL, whatever, no big deal. Me, Apache pilot. We had a Green Beret and we had a Marine.
Mm-hmm. So you needed a SWO Navy guy.
The Apache pilot was clearly the sharpest.
Just gonna ignore that, huh?
Was clearly the sharpest of the group, but. I had not met any of these men before.
Yeah.
Never met them. Never seen them before.
Yeah.
It's like we knew each other for 30 years.
It's awesome.
We met in the hotel lobby before we actually went to go do the shoot. We sat there and it was like all walks of life, different branches. But you know what? We sat down at that table. Do you know what we knew? We've been there.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
We could look each other in the eye and we could know.
It's beautiful.
We've been there. By the grace of God, we are still here. Everybody at that table has been shot at before. Everybody there has engaged the enemy in combat before. And by the way, we definitely aligned politically, but even if we didn't, it
doesn't change
it doesn't change that bond and the connection that you have. Where were you? When were you there? What fob were you at? When were you in country? What unit were you in? Hey, do you know blah? Hey, do you know so-and-so? Yeah. Actually, one of them was your roommates in San Diego's swim mate from Buds.
Crazy.
Amazing.
That's how small this world is.
This is why we keep saying this over and over and over again. We need, no offense to lawyers, I love lawyers, some of my best friends are lawyers, fewer lawyers in Congress. We have enough lawyers. Do you know how many lawyers we have in Congress?
Some of my best friends are lawyers.
Some of my best friends are black and lawyers. Some of my best friends are black lawyers.
Some of my best friends are black lawyers.
Right? But
I don't see profession.
It's
Wesley.
that is. I don't care what you do for a living.
We need less lawyers in Congress. I don't see profession.
I don't see profession.
I don't see profession.
But that's why we need more people in leadership roles, generally speaking. I had the privilege 2 weeks ago to actually have lunch with Mike Pompeo.
Nice.
Awesome, by the way. Yeah. West Point, class of 86. Class of 86 is like the class we're all envious of because they're all rich. It's like the CEO class. You have like the class the stars fell on. They're all generals. You have like the colonel class. You have like class of 86.
This is class the gold fell on.
I know, right? It's like the King Midas class, right? Yeah. And I'm talking to former Secretary of State, former director of the CIA, and it's just like, again, we connect on a level of, we went to West Point. What company were you in? How'd y'all do against Navy? Yeah, we beat them every year. That kind of stuff. And it's an awesome banter to connect on that level before we got down to brass tacks and talking politics. Yeah. And again, this is all about making sure that we have leaders that have a minimum amount of respect, and most importantly, which is the topic of today, a minimum amount of trust. Yes. That's what the military brings us. Less than 1% of us actually serve this country in that manner. It's really important. Yeah. I'm also willing to say that not every single congressman and senator should be a veteran. That's not true either. Yeah. As we know, you can have too many cooks in the kitchen.
Absolutely.
You give weight. I got it. But we need more than what we have right now.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, this is the, once again, representation matters, right? Mm-hmm. Do I think that every new board member or corporate CEO should be black?
No.
No, but do we need more than we have now?
Yes.
I think we do. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Absolutely.
Emphatically, yes.
Categorically, yeah. Absolutely.
But most importantly, we need more qualified people that are capable of doing the job and not just selecting people just because of the way they look.
Yeah.
The added bonus is always they're competent, they're able, they can clearly do the job, and an added bonus is, and they happen to be a woman.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, they're a person of color. Good.
Yeah.
I don't want to live in a country where we lead with, they're black, hire. Oh, no.
No, I don't want to be there. Because I don't want to live in a country where they say they're white, hire.
That's exactly correct.
Right? I don't want to live there.
I don't want to live there either. Because what you do and your merit and your education and your level of sophistication and how you present yourself, all these things matter.
Yeah.
And that has nothing to do with the color of one's skin.
No. Even on this trust topic, I have a good friend who coined this term that I really like. He said, there's good dudes and there's good guys.
Yeah.
I was like, that's interesting. Never really thought about the distinction. What's a distinction? He said, well, a good dude, you won't with you in the foxhole. That person's going to take care of you. They're going to do the right thing. They might save your life someday. They'll protect you. Good guy, he becomes your brother. You allow him to date your sister.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference.
There's a difference.
And I think that from a trust standpoint...
And you can be both, by the way.
You can be both. And I think that from a trust standpoint, even to gender neutralize this.
Ugh, come on, man.
Hey, man. Hey, I'm woke, right? To gender neutralize this. How do you even do that? Good people, good citizens, like however you want to neutralize it. I think that we do need...
just like stop.
I think that we do need good people of all walks of life.
God,
are you back yet?
You're seriously doing this.
We need good people of all walks of life who we trust not only to do the job that we had before them.
Yeah.
Because this is even something that we see with Congress, right? I don't necessarily have to have, and this is what we learned about at West Point, the idea of moral leadership and all these types of things. It's more important to me that I trust the person to get the job done that we put ahead of them, and then we can delve deeper as to, is this person a great person, yada, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. Then we can delve deeper into that. The issue that I think that we're having in our culture more broadly is even in Congress, we don't have enough people that are just good dudes, man.
Yeah, Wrendon.
Like that's like it's not even. It goes beyond somebody
it's an academy thing too. Like you always know when somebody's like, hey, do you know so and so? And there's like this
good dude.
Look, like this,
or
smile,
no,
like,
he's a really good guy. Like
he's a good dude.
It's different.
It's different. Yeah.
And I would even say that, somebody like Matt Gaetz is an example of this, right? Clearly not a good guy. Clearly does not.
Why'd you say that?
Clearly does not fit into that bucket. Okay.
Why? What do you do?
Clearly.
What do you do?
But that's the interesting piece is, but that doesn't necessarily preclude somebody from being a good dude.
Yeah, I get that.
And this is something.
I understand exactly what you're getting at.
This is something that I actually, in a lot of our leadership training, and it kind of goes back to this whole trust piece. In a lot of our leadership training at West Point, there's this idea that somebody always has to be both to be an effective leader.
No, that's not true.
And look,
It's not true.
That's definitely not true. Like, you look at some people's personal lives, and I've had to come to this point because I consider myself at least a kind of moral person more broadly. And because of that, it's been, well, do I hold other people to my same standard? Mm-hmm. But what if they're really effective at leading? And we need the best leadership more broadly. Mm-hmm. And my hope would be that all the people that we get into Congress would be good guys and good dudes.
Well, let's work on that. And let's continue as a country to search for both.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. But we've lost the trust that the people are but beyond what they are in their personal lives, we've lost the trust that they're the people that'll save us in the foxhole. Yeah. We've lost that trust in our systems more broadly.
And it's up to our next generation of post 9/11 veterans to restore that trust.
Yeah, it's beyond veterans. It's up to our generation, period.
Yeah, I agree.
Because this goes back to what we were talking about with the State of the Union. You're watching that speech and you're looking around and you're like, man, old overwhelmingly, white overwhelmingly.
Yes.
And as this generation, as we look forward to leadership, look, man, the baby boomers, they're holding on to the stick too tight, man.
Let's go.
We need to have new blood. We need to have new people in. And in order to get new people in, we need to have some experience. You can't just throw somebody in the mix with no experience, no training. People have got to get in right now so that we can be making this big impact in 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And it's not necessarily a timeline, but it's important that people have experience as well. And you don't get experience without doing.
Agreed. Well, thank you all for listening. I'm going to wrap us up this week. And remember that smiles are contagious, so make someone's day. God bless you.